Hello, Nardat here today with a power aerial tutorial. I say tutorial, but it's just going to be talking about it, talking about how I do them. There's multiple ways of throwing aerials, of catching aerials, and trajectories, and everyone seems to everyone that does them seems to enjoy them, and some people neglect them and don't know how fun they are to do, right? So I'm here in my living room. And welcome to my living room. I'll be looking at you and my TV, which I got hooked up to the camera, so it's very easy for me to show you what I'm doing as I'm showing you. Power aerials is any aerials that is thrown in the air and caught in a specific manner and having a different trajectory, you know, switching hands, under leg, I mean over across the body, contorting different ways, you know. And they're very broad because the air around you, the space around you, is a part of the trick. So today I'll be showing you the regular behind the back catch, which is just behind the back catch. That's all it is, with the same hand thrown over the shoulder and caught behind the back. That's the first one I learned, and there's different ways of doing that one. Let's just start with the basic aerial. When I throw my aerials, I do double rollout, just because it gets me into this position right here. Now the blade up. Never throw aerial with the blade up. It just is the blade don't get the blade stops here, like right here. I can get that momentum. I can use the momentum of the blade right here. There's only the bite handle, and I find it's not a nice of a spin that if you throw it with the blade down, like kind of in the twirl position, you know, you throw like this. So basic aerial, 1.5 rotations or 1 rotation, depending on how you look at it. For power aerials, you need more than 1 rotation. You know, you do 2, 1.5. It's good to learn those rotations, so that when when you time your throw, you know when the open catch is going to be. I find doing open catches to a power aerial is a good way to finish the trick, the combo you're doing, and you know, you're catching it and you can carry on. Or unless you catch it where it's a part of your combo, like if you say you catch it with the chaplain, right? Or if you catch it with the helix aerial. So it like depends on how you want to do it. Sorry there, my camera shuts off after 3 minutes. So I was talking about the catch. Now, when I do the catch, you got to remember the axis that your knife spins. Now you can either make it spin the regular basic aerial spin, which is like this, or you can do the anti-motion, which is thrown instead of this direction. So if you think about it going counterclockwise, depending on how you look at it, this is the basic aerial, this is the anti-gravity aerial. And it's the same thing as the Y2K aerial, right? It's the same rotation direction. So when you throw your knife, you obviously want to, you know, have your hand, I'm going to call this perpendicular because this would be parallel with the palm. This is perpendicular. You want to keep your hand perpendicular to the axis of spin. No matter where you throw it, whenever you're catching it, whenever you throw it, you want to keep that palm into that same axis. I'm going to do it like this so I can show you guys. When you throw like this, no matter where you're catching it, you got to have your hand perpendicular to where the knife is potentially gonna end up. So I think that's common knowledge. If you throw an aerial to the side, your hand has to be on the side. If you throw your aerial, you know, if you want to throw an ice pick, you gotta make sure that your hand is perpendicular to the knife. It's a basic concept, but you have to keep that in mind when you're throwing a power aerial and your trajectory is going this way, that you got to put your hand perpendicularly. You can't expect to throw a knife and then just kind of put your hand there however and expect it to just land in your hand and then kind of catch it and then carry on. I don't like those kind of catches where you catch it just one hand and then you complete, you know, those still count, but it also comes into consideration when the whole look of the aerial. You want an aerial to look nice, you want the aerial to be, you know, you wouldn't want to have a catch a Van Gogh like this because it wouldn't look nice. You want to catch a Van Gogh, you want to do it properly. You want to, obviously not like that. Not like that either. When you do a Van Gogh, you want the catch to be clean and not sloppy. That takes practice, and that's what most para aerials take, is a lot of practice. Now, good ways of practicing the trajectory itself. You don't have to use a knife. You can use anything. The first thing I grabbed was the Wii remote, so you can use your keys. I use my keys every day. I flick my keys around up and I practice my trajectories, because that's what you're practicing when you're practicing with other object. You want to know where your knife is to. You got to know. That's what I do. You practice your trajectory. You know where your knife is. You should be able to catch your knife. You know, not knowing where it's to, not. You know, depending on where you are, it's just trajectory practice. Some people, if you want to have a better, you can use a BB barfly, and these are really good for training, because you can just, your catch can be anywhere. You can just go, and you won't cut yourself. Another one is the Benchmade 51. I've talked a lot on the Arena. This is a knife that's light and has the same kind of spin as a 40X series. Really good for doing power aerials. Mine's the tip is a bit blunt because I use it for work, but it's still sharp, so I do cut myself still. But it's a good knife for practicing power aerials itself. Other thing, I don't know if you've noticed, I'm wearing shoes. You never know where that knife is going to go, and I'm also surrounded with nothing that's breakable. So you want to be surrounded with nothing. Okay, now trajectory. That's one thing you got to concentrate on, is where your knife is you're throwing and where it's going, and then when you're catching, how you're catching. For this, I'm going to teach this specific aerial. This one here, the trajectory is going to go, I'm going to face this way, it's going to go up and over your shoulder, and you're going to catch it kind of behind your left shoulder. So right here, this is where you're going to put your hand. And I'm not flexible, so don't tell me you're not flexible and you can't catch that unless you're, you know, fatty or something. But when the aerial's right there. I can't do the gunslinger scissoring. I can't do that. But I can do, you know, that, you know, if you turn around a little bit, your hips, shoulders, you can open up that space behind your back, which is, if you're not necessarily flexible enough, you can open up your back and then keep your hand there. Once you got that trajectory, then the rest is just, the rest is timing the spins. That's another very important part of para aerials, is the number of spins, number of rotations your knife does before you do the open catch. Now, I've already talked about the catch and how I like to have it open. So if you think about a para aerial, unless you want to just do a basic opening, you know, like a basic, you know, that much rotation is not going to look good in a para aerial. You really want to have that 2.5 spin or 3 spin. See, this is a 2.5 spin or 3 spin when it comes back in the closed position, and that's the biggest thing I do. Is when I catch it with in the closed position, and that does not look as flashy as if you catch it with the open position, just because, you know, open position looks better. So when I do the power aerial, usually I go to 2.5 rotations, and a lot of times you'll catch the blade, or you'll catch it in the closed position. So you got the spin, the number of spins, you got the trajectory, you got your hand position, and you got to commit. When you throw an aerial, you gotta commit your hand. You gotta close that grip on your knife, and that's the scariest part. I find you have to commit, but then if something in your mind that says that the aerial is not going as the trajectory is not as good as you wanted it, let the knife go. Just don't even try to catch it. Sometimes, a lot of the times, that's how you cut yourself. Is you know the trajectory is not well, and you still try to catch it, and then you end up cutting yourself. So, again, I usually do double roll out, and then you throw knife down, throw up over your shoulder. You can cheat a little if you want. Throw it kind of, instead of going straight to behind the back with the arm down, you can kind of move your arm kind of or over, kind of catch it in that space between your arm and your body. That's how I first learned it. Because it's kind of cheating because you can see it better. You can see where you're going to catch it. But that's just another way you can do it. It's not as much of a power aerial when you do it that way as if you do it over the shoulder. And then, you know, opportunities are limitless of throwing over the shoulder, catching with your other hand, throwing. Another easy one, if you want to practice, is I call it the cheat meat grinder, because you're going on your back and you're catching with the left hand. When you're throwing, and you catch with the left hand. I call that a cheat meat grinder, because the meat grinder is actually thrown over your back and you catch it with a downward grip like this, like that. But this one here is upwards grip. Ooh, see, I would have capped the blade there for sure. So I'm going to just show you guys a few aerials that I'm going to do, that I do regularly. You know, stuff like on the back, you know, or... Anyways, I hope this tutorial helped. There's a lot more to it than just throwing and catching. And doing it more often, you get a hold of those tricks, you start doing them easier, and it doesn't take you as long to do them. So here's a few power aerials I'm going to do.